up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for April 22nd, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Monday edition of the podcast, back in the home studio. Had a great weekend, but it's always good to be back, sleep in your own bed. And I feel recording-wise, having the two screens is always key for me. But awesome time this weekend. Looking forward to going back out golfing with those guys again very, very soon. Happy Earth Day, by the way. In case you want to go out and do something good for the environment, today is, in fact, Earth Day. As always, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, what was the best non-World Series Phillies postseason moment? And 50% of you said it was Bedlam at the Bank, which was yesterday's top 20 memory for Citizens Bank Park. And then 33% had Doc's no-hitter. A lot of people said that Doc's no-hitter could have been higher had they made a better postseason run. I also had some people that voted for Doc's no-hitter that said Bedlam at the Bank would have been the top moment in Philly sports history, minus maybe the Philly special had they actually won the World Series. So lots of good moments there. Thanks, as always, for participating. 267-495-8531 get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Quick housekeeping note. I mentioned last weekend because I was going to be away. Things were going to be slightly different with some of the social media stuff. This week and next week as well will be a little bit different since I'm going to be, I have to leave the office starting tomorrow. So there's not going to be, the clips will not be up in the morning. I'm going to work to get them up in the afternoon, but just if you're somebody who looks for specific clips, and I don't put a ton, usually it's just like Twitter, there will be the Twitter clips that I usually put up, but I've been putting up clips of the unfinished business as well as the top 20 memories of Citizens Bank Park. So that's going to shift slightly, but the whole podcast will still be up wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. Be sure to hit me up on social media, Jimbo_Mott on TikTok and Twitter, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. And then, of course, subscribe and like the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mott. Tell your friends. Let's spread the word. And if you're interested in information about the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, all the information you need is the link. It is a stacked class, as well as the ticket information is down there. Tickets are selling fast. And if you want to be a sponsor, you have a business, and you want to get your name out there, or if you have something you could donate to be auctioned, doesn't necessarily have to be sports related, hit me up and let me know that, and we can get you hooked up and ready to go for that as well. All right, let's start with the Phils. Good win. 8-2, 6 straight. Nola was just insane. 8 innings pitched, 7 Ks, 2 earned runs. Obviously, he gave up a home run because that's what he does. But offense did just enough. Schwarber hit another bomb. Turner has been red hot. Bryce seems to starting to be hit, and the weather hasn't turned yet. It's not quite hitting season, as Charlie would say. But I feel like that was a good 6-game sweep of both the White Sox as well as the Rockies. And then forget that homestand started with the 4-game series against the Pirates where they split. So a very, very successful homestand. And they did what they should have done with the teams that were scheduled, especially with these two teams. Like, in my opinion, like, I'm seeing some people that are on social media like, whoa, tone your expectations down. They did it against the White Sox and the Rockies, blah, 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 blah. And it's annoying because, yeah, that's who they played, but they did exactly what they should have done. Like, if they'd have dropped 1 or 2 of those games, they'd be getting skewered right now. So now they swept them, and they're still getting skewered. I just don't sometimes understand all of what goes on in the minds of some Philadelphia fans sometimes, but they did exactly what they needed to do and should have done with these teams. And now they kind of got things right. They figured some things out, and this is why what you need to do against those teams on your schedule. Now they go out on this 10-game trip to Cincy, San Diego, and then to play the Angels in LA. And again, this is what they should have done. Now they're right. Tonight in Cincy, Ranger Suarez goes on the mound coming off that complete game. Like, it's this, again, I like where they're at. But calm down. We know it was the White Sox and the Rockies. It's not like we went out and did this versus the Braves or the Dodgers. But the way they're playing right now, I think they could play well. And I'm excited for this 10-game road trip. Excuse me. Not so excited about the West Coast games, but this is what we have. I have to mention the Fanatic hats they had on yesterday. Those things are phenomenal. Like, I really, really like those hats they had on for the Fanatic's birthday. It's pretty cool how they do that. And hopefully they're selling them. But I had to mention that. But they are in action tonight out in Cincinnati, starting a 10-game road trip that's going to take them out to California and then back. But I have to show you this. It finally came, and if you have not gone to Philly Goat yet to check it out, this is the shirt. I absolutely love the lettering. That's the way the Phillies shirts should look. And I know a lot of people don't like the City Connect editions, and that's fine. But if you get the hats, hats are fire, get that shirt to match, or get the Philly script. Like, they have the hats like that on Philly Goat. So go to phillygoat.com, check out their Philly Connect just line of everything. Goes through. Want to celebrate the Fanatic's birthday, get a pair of the fans. Now the weather's going to start getting nice. I'm looking forward to wearing mine. They're so comfortable. So go to phillygoat.com, check them out. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Ranger Suarez is on the mound tonight. If he has another big game, I want the red Power Ranger shirt. But moving on to the Sixers, Game 2 is tonight, and they're obviously a better team when Joe's on the floor, so they need to work on that. That's going to be a key to the game, is not allowing the game to get out of hand or the Knicks to get hot when Joe's not out there. And hopefully they can put some bodies on the Knicks. And I know the Knicks are a good offensive rebounding team anyway, but you need to try to limit that, because that was another thing that really stuck out. And then just don't leave Josh Hart open. If you could, that'd be great. I don't know. But I like the way they are. I feel that the Sixers are, when Joe was on the court last Saturday, they were the better team when Joe was on the court. When Joe was not on the court, they were not even close to being in the same stratosphere as the Knicks. So that needs to change. You need to even that out somewhat when he's not on the court. It does seem as though he's fine. I am confident that Nick Nurse is going to make some adjustments. And I like I said, I still think this series is going 6-7 games. I think this is borderline a must-win game for the Sixers, I think. Just from a confidence standpoint. And again, if this was Doc, I would not be this confident, but I believe in Nick Nurse. So I'm looking for them to come out, because even like other than that little stretch when Josh Hart got hot and the Sixers could not make a shot, I think Nick Nurse even said it. Like, he kind of got snippy and was like, well, we missed 3 wide open threes that would have pushed the lead to 6, and then they made 4 straight. And I think that other than that little stretch, the Sixers outplayed the Knicks. So I'm looking for more of the same tonight. I'm looking for a little bit more consistency. I think not knowing, because this is the first time we've seen him in the playoffs as our coach, but I feel as though Nick Nurse is going to make those adjustments. Think about what he used to do to frustrate Joe all the time when the Sixers played Toronto. So I feel we're going to see some of the adjustments made. They're going to play a little bit better defense and hopefully improve some of that rebounding. But I think it's a must-win game, and that leads us to today's question of the day. Is this a must-win game for the Sixers? Mathematically, it's not. But psychologically, is this a must-win game for the Sixers? 267-495-8531. Let me know what you think. Can this team, the way they're currently made up, can they come back from being down 0-2? Let me know what you think. I think it's a must-win game. Obviously, they can still win the series if they lose. But in my mind, this is a crucial game. They need to win this. They really would have been great if they could have hung on for game 1. It's better to win game 1. in my opinion. But let me know, is game 2 a must-win for the Sixers? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let me know what your thoughts are tonight at 7:30. Looking forward to it. All right, some Eagles news, and rest in peace to Roman Gabriel. I missed this over the weekend, just kind of being somewhat out of the loop. He was the first Filipino-American quarterback in NFL history. Started his career with the Rams, was the MVP for the Associated Press in 1969. Traded to the Eagles in 1973. They pretty much thought his career was over. Eagles jumped on the prospects of bringing him in, and he served kind of more as almost like a transition into like the end of one era into the Dick Vermeil era. But his first year in 1973 with the Eagles, made the Pro Bowl, was the comeback player of the year, ended his career with 7,221 yards with the Eagles, which is 12th all-time on their list. This kind of goes to show you of the ineptitude of quarterbacks, I guess, throughout their history. It wasn't until more recently, starting with Jaworski, and then Randall, Donovan, that we started to get some decent quarterbacks. But rest in peace to Roman Gabriel, and condolences to his family. Former Eagles quarterback and the first Filipino-American quarterback to play in the NFL. All right, the draft is this week, and it's a relatively quiet draft, or draft build-up, I should say. And I think that's because there's not, and I know there's going to be some people out there that will disagree with this, but there's not necessarily a glaring need. Yes, they need help at linebacker. Yes, they need some offensive line depth. Yes, they need some defensive line depth. And obviously they need some defensive back help. But as they are constructed, I think it's because there's no, this is the way Howie's going to go, or this is the way he should go. And I think more than ever, teams always say, we take the best player available. But I think that's kind of where you got, obviously they're going to have their draft for it, but I think that's where this team is right now. They're going to see how this draft kind of shakes out. And if a guy they really like is within reach, he might trade up. I think this would be the perfect year, because of the draft capital they do have, to maybe even pull something that he did 2 years ago when he brought in A.J. Brown. Like, do a trade a pick for a player that is first round caliber. And maybe that is a defensive back somewhere along the line. I don't know. But it's been very quiet. We'll kind of follow the leads and any nuggets that we get on the way. But this has been one of the more quiet lead-ups to a draft ever. And especially with some of the needs, you would have thought there'd be a lot of people out there. But they're, like I said, I think they're going to play the board, see how it plays out, and then go from there. But let me know what you think. Who should the Eagles take? A little bit of bonus question of the day. Who do you think or what position, I guess, should the Eagles take in the draft? Should they stand pat? Should they make a trade? Let me know what you think about that. All right, today we're going to go back to 1957. And on this day in 1957, the Phillies lost to the Dodgers 5-1 at Roosevelt Stadium in New Jersey. The team here is important. Dodgers still were in Brooklyn at the time, and this, again, the opponent here is important because in the top of the eighth, Sally Hemus for the Phillies hit a double and was pitch run for by John Irvin Kennedy. And this is very important because he became the first black player to play for the Phillies. The Phillies at the time were one of 3 teams left that had still not integrated. And this was 10 years, almost to the day, that Jackie Robinson played in or broke the color barrier for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And the other 2 teams, in case you're wondering, are the Detroit Tigers and the Boston Red Sox. And this is also, this day was crucial because this was 10 years to the day that Jackie Robinson was berated by Ben Chapman and the Phillies. And we talked a lot about the movie 42 with Chadwick Boseman. Boseman, go check that out. But Kennedy, for his career, had 2 at-bats, did not have any hits, played a little bit in the field, turned a double play, and really got done dirty because originally he was told he was going to be the starter, And then the Phillies kind of backed out, and within a few weeks, he was out of the Phillies or off of the major league team. But on this day in 1957, against the Brooklyn Dodgers, John Irvin Kennedy became the first black player to play for the Philadelphia Phillies in a major league game, or a regular season game, I should say. And then there were still 2 teams left, believe it or not, that still had not integrated by them. But John Irvin Kennedy is one of those unsung guys that we talked when I interviewed Brian from A League Apart. Kind of an unforgotten sort of piece in Philadelphia black history. But on this day, he broke the Phillies color barrier, pinch running for Sally Hemus in the 8th inning of a game against the Brooklyn Dodgers up in Roosevelt, New Jersey. All right. Today is our final top 20 memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park. Hard to believe that it's been 20 days already. I feel like this month has flown by. But this one I saved purposely for this one, because this one might not necessarily be in everyone's top 10, but this is one that's talked about all the time. I happen to be there, happen to have a good story about it, and just was like a cool, surreal moment. Phillies lost on this day to the Mets. It was May 1st, 2000. Oh, I forget the year now. 2011. And the Phillies lost to the Mets that day, 2-1 in 14 innings. We had a Sunday package, so we went to every Sunday game. This was a Sunday night game due to the Broad Street run being earlier in the afternoon. Had one of my better times ever that day, but still was feeling a little sore. I think I did it in under 90 minutes, which at the time it was sort of almost at the peak of my running, I guess you could say. But anyway, during that game, I was waiting in line for beer, and all of a sudden, I was standing and I was talking to him, and then a guy checked his phone. Turned out he was somehow involved in, I forget whether he was a Marine or in the Army, but the guy was standing there, and he got a text message. He's like, "Holy shit, we got Osama Bin Laden." And we were like, "What?" And like, he got the news before the story had broken anywhere. So of course, like, before it was officially announced, like I got back up to the seats, and it's like, "We got that motherfucker." And like, I was drunk because I run the run, and everybody's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "We shot Osama Bin Laden. We got him." And everybody's like, "Whatever, you're just drunk." I was like, "No." And I was trying to explain the story, and then all of a sudden the USA chants broke out in the stadium, and like, everybody started checking their phones, and they're like, "Oh shit, you did know what you were talking about." But it was just like a cool moment to be at a game and sharing. And it was like, because it was Mets, so there was a ton of Mets fans there too. And just having everybody be on the same team at that moment was really cool with the USA chants and everything. It was definitely, again, a surreal moment. And for me, ranks up there with the first Phillies game I went to at the Vet after 9/11 against the Braves. Just one of those, and again, not to go down too far down a political rabbit hole, but I just feel like that day, everybody was kind of united, and it was a really cool feeling. I think we could learn a lot from that, and this is where I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute and not get too political, because both sides were so divided. But moments like that, when everyone comes together, it was just a cool moment, a very proud United States kind of moment. And again, maybe we can use sports to come together again. I don't know, but we are very divided. And again, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But today, at our top 20 and final memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park was the Osama Bin Laden game, as I like to call it, when the crowd, like, you could tell as people did, like, just like what happened with me. Like, I came back and told everybody, and they were like, "Oh my God." And like, as it went, it was cool. And they've shown so many things on it. I forget whether it's ESPN or the Major League Baseball Network, just talking about that game and how the players learned through the crowd about what happened, which is, again, one of those cool moments. And that is today's final top 20 moment for Citizens Bank Park. If I miss one over the course of the past 20 days that you feel should be mentioned, let me know. 267-495-8531 on the Back to the Future text line. But 20 years. It's hard to believe Citizens Bank Park has been around for 20 years. But those were some of the top 20 memories. I threw a couple of my own personal ones in there. But I think this one with Osama Bin Laden will be up there on a lot of people's list. And finally today, the Philly sports team with unfinished business who left a little bit of meat on the bone, the 1999-2000 Temple Owls. And this one hurts still to this day for me. Preseason, they were number 7. Had high hopes coming into the season. They won 13 straight games at some point that season, including beating the number 1 team, Cincinnati Bearcats. They got ranked all the way up to number 5. I think I mentioned on this podcast before, I was on the news at one point after that Cincinnati game saying, we're number 8. But they ended up with the 2 seed in the East, and I think they may have been the top 2 seed, if I'm not mistaken, or the second ranked 2 seed. So they were borderline 1 seed. They won the A-10 regular season and conference tournament. Ended up 27-6 on the year. Went up to Buffalo for the tournament, and we went up with them. It was great. Beat Lafayette in the first round. Everybody's feeling confident. We came in the next game, or the next set of games, and we were already planning on going. Believe it was in Syracuse the following week, and we're like, all right, we're gonna go to Syracuse for a shot to go to the Final Four. And then the Seton Hall game happened, and Shaheen Holloway, who is the current coach of Seton Hall, was Seton Hall's best player, hurt his ankle, could not continue, and then Ty effing Shine comes off the bench and hits like 10 threes, and just breaks our heart. The game goes into overtime, and you think, we're sitting in the stands, we're like, okay, game's into overtime. This is where Temple catches their breath, realizes, hey, we're Temple, and comes through, but it just was not meant to be. And the sad part is they would have had a decent road to get to the Final Four that year. Probably Chaney's best chance, other than maybe the 88 team, to get there. They would have had a tough game the next round against Oklahoma State. But I feel like they would have won that game. And then from there, they would have played the 5th seed Florida Gators, who they always seem to beat Florida when they played them. Because Florida knocked off Duke, which would have been a scary game for the Owls, but they would have beaten Florida because they always beat Florida. And then they would have played the 8th seed North Carolina in the Final Four, and they would have beaten them. And then it would have set up a good game against Michigan State. So I played out these games on Played Against Sport or What If Sports, and Oklahoma State they won. Florida they won, UNC they won, and then I did 10 games. 60% of them were won by Michigan State, but Temple would have had a shot to win the national championship that year if it wasn't for Ty effing Shine. So today's Philly sports team with unfinished business, who will always still have that meat on the bone for me. That's why I'm wearing my Temple shirt today. Man, this was the peak of the Temple era when I was there, and they should have won as the 2 seed. It still pisses me off to this day. And then the rest of the trip was just a mess. Like we had to wait for a late flight, and everybody's miserable. We had to go to Niagara Falls, which was pretty cool, but still, and it was just just a miserable plane ride home. But this should have been the year. So the 99-2000 Temple Owls are today's team with unfinished business. And I'm sorry I knocked over something on my desk because I'm so angry still to this day. Today's final top 20 memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park is the Osama Bin Laden game, when word spread through the crowd that we got him. On this day in 1957, John Irvin Kennedy pinch ran for the Phillies in the 8th inning of a game against the Dodgers, becoming the first black player to play for the Phillies. Let me know what you think about the Eagles draft. And then, is this a must-win game for the Sixers? 267-495-8531 gets you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let's go Ranger Suarez. Let's keep this rolling out in Cincy. Let's go for 7 straight. It's going to be a little bit chilly this morning, but it's supposed to be nice in the afternoon. So get out and do something. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Until next time, I'll see you when I see you.